Hello everyone. Nice to see you again today. And today's session, or this lunchtime session, it is lunchtime here, is Fast and Simple Mainframe Data Sharing, presented by Tim Redding of Luminex Software. Session 3.0 for your feedback forms. Please do remember to do the feedback. We do use that information in planning the next year's conference as well. And believe me, we have already started planning next year's conference. Or you can use the QR code to get to the feedback form. Questions during this session are to be put in the chat. Tim would like to answer your questions as he goes along, so he will be able to see the questions, but if he doesn't spot them whilst he's going on, I will prompt him that there is a question. Okay. Okay, so yeah, if you could just put your questions in the chat, and then I'll pass them on if for any reason Tim hasn't seen them. I want to just remind you, and I'm sure you're being reminded on every session, about the GSE UK conference charity raffle. It's supporting lifeboats and guide dogs for the blind, two very two very worthy causes. Get my teeth back in. And by donating, you will get entered into the GSE raffle, for which I believe there are quite some good prizes available. And you know, as we're not face to face, we're not able to go around with the bucket as we normally do at the gala dinner, and where you're all normally very, very generous. So please do maintain that reputation we have with the charities. Okay, so without any further ado, I shall hand you over to Tim.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending. My name is, as Anna says, I'm Tim Redding, and I'm an account manager for Luminex UK. And in this session, I wanted to show you some of the options Luminex has that can simplify and accelerate data sharing between mainframe environments and external systems, and also review some of the benefits that can be realized by exploiting the service. As Anna says, ask questions as you go. She will interrupt me if I don't spot them, but saying that I'll answer them as we go through the presentation. Anything complicated, we can defer to the end and manage it that way. So if I open with typical client challenges, I mean, within today's environments, there's always ongoing development to meet specific projects or strategic directions. And the capabilities of services running across multiple hosts or platforms is ever increasing. And this is driving a need for agility and speed in presenting data across these services. And then within that, there is the ongoing drive to improve security, security for data movement, also harden the platforms generally across the estate, and deliver to compliance and accelerate fraud detection. And if you can manage all that and manage your ongoing costs within an enterprise, then you're doing fairly well. There's nothing new in the business requirements. Data warehousing, data mining, business analytics, always been strong features. Business risk analysis for both business position and fraud detection. And with that, compliance and audit always been there, but there's a lot more focus and rigor being applied to these fields. And systems external to the mainframe, they're playing a bigger part in all this these days. Now, the standard tool set for mainframe data sharing, it has a few challenges. And I can guarantee that whatever you're using today, by tomorrow, it'll need to be faster, more secure, more efficient, and more cost effective. So with that in mind, I'd like to talk through the Luminex solution that can address these requirements. Now, Luminex software, we've been delivering and developing technology and solutions for IBM mainframe environments now for over 25 years. And this includes the Luminex Mainframe Data Integration Platform, or MDI. And as it says, MDI is a data transfer and co-processing platform. What it presents is the capability to reposition data exchange from TCP/IP-based protocols to a mainframe FICON channel. By doing this, it allows us to exploit the security of FICON, the speed of FICON, and the efficiency of those services available that can move data over FICON. So from the host perspective, it adds the security layer, it adds the speed, and it adds the efficiency. The MDI platform itself, and it can run either as a dedicated platform or integrated with the CGX virtual tape software. It's a profile-based architecture for extending processing and interface capabilities, highly scalable as any FICON connected device is, with all the speed associated with FICON, plus the integration into your host security requirements and external encryption requirements where necessary. And it's a bidirectional service. So it allows bidirectional movement and communication. And this brings into scope multi-platform workflows and co-processing. And on the platform itself, we include the data translation capabilities between EBCDIC and ASCII, between character sets, but also workbook capability for data translation of structured data. And any or all of multiple data targets and sources are in scope. So FICON as an architecture, it's the I/O channel designed specifically for the mainframe, known for speed, efficiency, and very much for security. De facto connector of choice for disk and tape. But now with MDI, it extends the capability to deliver the speed, efficiency, and security of FICON and apply it to date to file transfer. In terms of the architecture, it's been designed around a mainframe-centered discipline. So designed and operation from mainframe-centric. I mentioned it's bidirectional communication and data transfer. And it uses tape as the native API for both this control path and the data path. Because we're sitting on FICON and the mainframe host is extremely well populated with utilities to move data in the most efficient manner over FICON, it has a broad range of utilities available. And with that breadth of utility also comes the simplicity implementation, because the knowledge base on the mainframe services and the mainframe users is very broad around those utilities as well. And with the mainframe security and authentication requirements delivering to your security needs. And because we have the capability to integrate it with the Luminex virtual tape environment, further leveraging of the value of the platform is available. So it's not just the design. It's not just the design of the service at all. From our own benchmarking, we see that the actual MDI service has the capability of both improving on elapsed time for data transfer, but also within that, delivering economies on the host around service units, CPU usage. And these numbers are quite striking in terms of the variance, in terms of performance, but also on the overhead on the hosts. But it's not just our benchmarking either. We see this variance in the field, and the order of magnitude on the performance starts bringing into scope additional functionality on the data that's being exchanged outside of the mainframe. But on top of the performance is the overall simplicity of the implementation capabilities. So it's a very simple implementation from a host perspective. At its most basic level, this is an example of an MDI secure transfer. So writing data over FICON channel, exploiting the speed of FICON, security of FICON, but also the simplicity of the utilities available. So this example is demonstrating the use of IceGenner, but it could easily be Repro. It could be a DB2 tablespace offload. It could be whatever utility is most suited to the source data and the target. Step two brings in the context of the transfer targets, the encryption services, and data transformation options. So in this instance, the context of the transfer is MDI secure transfer. Definition of the destination defined in the SysIN. Multiple encryption options are available, and data conversion is included on the service. So here it's a simple EBCDIC to ASCII conversion, but this is easily extended to tailored structured data conversion for specific targets. So vSAM to JSON to CSV, highly tailorable, highly capable. And we perform the activity on the MDI platform. It's not an external activity that has to be scheduled externally. So just to come back to this slide, I've come back to this slide to reference the data sharing targets and sources. So I mentioned that it brings in multiple data sharing targets and sources, and it's not limited to those specified here, but these are examples of where we've developed specific connectors that facilitate sharing and integration of data into these environments. So MDI big data transfer, offload Hadoop, S3 connector, of course, whether that be on-premise S3, GCS, AWS, plus additional services around Cloud Connector. Cross-platform data sharing, secure transfer, of course, and MDI SAS language processor, and of course an interface to publish to Kafka. So, and these connectors are being developed on an ongoing process. In fact, the development cycle on the MDI is stronger than our development cycle on virtual tape at the moment. I think we developed a connector for Splunk just recently on request. So there is always development work going on around this service. And I mentioned it's bidirectional, and it's bidirectional for both data and the communications capability. So by extending it for both data and communication, this now brings into scope the capability to deliver multi-platform workflows and multi-platform code processing on data elements across your estate. The use cases we're seeing are, as you can imagine, highly varied. I've just picked a few sample use cases. So an insurance provider is integrating data into Azure, correlating it with data from distributed systems. And they're doing almost real-time risk analysis of the business to position the business at instances throughout the day to demonstrate the exposure and manage the services they provide. Global retailer is using it for offload to cloud and big data query for trend analysis, inventory logistics. Financial service user is dumping through Hitachi Ignite with cross-platform data sharing. And they're using Ignite to transform separately and sort, and then re-import back to DB2 on the mainframe. The transportation and logistics company in this example, they're actually using the SAS language processor to send SMF data to a coprocessor, which they're using to generate MXG reports off host, and then returning the output of the processing back to the mainframe, and or distribution via email, and or distribution via GUI services running on the coprocessor. And the transaction processor, the example we've got is they're publishing to Kafka. And they're publishing to Kafka for near real-time fraud detection within their business. So bringing their fraud detection much closer to the front edge of their data processing systems. Looking at the services in more detail, I mean, the insurance company, their primary challenge was the elapsed time to get the data off the mainframe to process. It meant that they had separate processes for their open systems data and their mainframe. And this opened up a chasm between the way they looked at the processing on the mainframe systems and the open systems. But by bringing in MDI secure transfer, we enabled the capability to integrate the vSAM into the Azure data lake in the same time frame as they were able to integrate their open systems data. So the reduced transfer time brought that data into scope for an added value to it within their organization. And by doing that, they were able to improve the visibility of the risk they were carrying at instances throughout their processing day. Another application usage we see a lot of is application rehosting. So applications that are potentially more efficient running on external systems. In this instance, the customer simply couldn't keep up with the rate of update on the host systems on the mainframe to be able to transfer the data in a timely manner to their target environment. They were getting seriously behind on their deadlines for this. But we introduced cross-platform data sharing, and this brought down the window dramatically for transferring the data off to NAS targets. And by doing that, we actually brought the project back onto back into scope in terms of time, and we enabled the project to complete on time. I mentioned using SAS language processor. Challenge for this customer was to literally reduce wall clock time on their report generation. Additional concerns were always around MSU consumption and disk storage. And for this customer, we introduced the SAS language processor. And by introducing that, we enabled the move of SMF processing to a Linux server. So I'm going to digress from the flow of this a little and just confirm with you what that means. The SAS language processor, SAS language offload process is, I wouldn't say unique, but it exploits a unique feature of the way it works. So within your typical job flow would be collection of your SMF, the execution of your SAS, MXG, build of your PDB, and then some kind of distribution around the graphics rendering report, etc. But by using an SLP, you can export the heavy lifting to an external target and then return the results through your existing batch processes running on the mainframe and distribute the output as normal. But this also then starts enhancing what you can do with the environment they're running on the SLP coprocessor. Introduction of Python, R brings in additional development options, including developers. So the skill base available for processing systems extends. So to return to the use case, we reduced the execution time quite dramatically for this. So we were able to actually start introducing reporting capabilities within their business day, within the same business day they were executing the analysis in. And then the additional byproducts of releasing the disk space and also cutting the processor overhead. SAS is not a cheap workload to be running. Another client of ours had structured their business around a certain model that meant that flexibility with sharing data, mainframe data within their environment was proving a little extravagant. Again, we introduced this time a combination of MDI secure transfer and cross-platform data sharing. And on doing this, the customer was quite clearly able to articulate ongoing year-on-year savings within their business units. So the platform has the potential to deliver high value back into your environment. Because of the change, it's a bit of a step change in the way the data is processed, the speed of the data and the efficiency we can apply to it. And by applying such a step change, the value and economics of the data being moved around can change dramatically. So with the scalability, the speed, the security, and the simplicity within your environment to move large amounts of data to and from the mainframe, the simplicity of the user interface. So we've got instances where the return on investment can start to be realized within almost immediate implementation. And it also delivers back services to the hosts. So it reduces the overhead on the hosts for less efficient data transfer processes, let's say. And with the speed, you're now looking at the capability to share data and introduce near real-time analytics on the data elements that you're looking to share. And with our connectors pre-built, we have connectors out to Kafka, Azure, GCS, HCP, and we are developing these all the time. So the development of these connectors is ongoing, and we are looking forward to developing them further. So with that in mind, MDI does deliver to these requirements. It offers improved security for data exchange, greatly improving performance and quality of service over stable FICON links. And by doing this, it expands the utility of your mainframe data, and it expands the utility of your mainframe data across multiple platforms. So this capability then brings in better business analytics. And that broad range of platforms is always growing at the moment. And the capabilities to then integrate your mainframe data simply across these estates. And when you include the capability to reduce your overheads and realize the cost savings, then it adds at all levels. So that's the Luminex mainframe data integration platform. It's a highly flexible platform. It can improve the speed and efficiency of data exchange services in your environment and expand the utility of your data and the value you get from it. And it functions either as a standalone platform or fully integrated with Luminex virtual tape services. So that's the actual presentation around MDI. So any questions at this point? Anything anyone want to add? Because if not, it's just to say thank you very much and to hand back to Anna. Thank you again. You there, Anna? Well, if Anna's not going to come back to this, then I will go through it for yourself.
No, I'm very sorry. I couldn't get myself. I couldn't get myself off mute. At first, I was just chatting because I was so surprised because I didn't realise this was a short session.
Oh, my apologies. I should have said that. I should have outlined that at the start. I didn't want to go into huge detail on this. I'm quite happy to do the feedback form if you want.
But no, it's fine. So if anybody has got any questions, I will be allowing you to unmute yourself any moment now. But just before that, I'll just reiterate that this was session 3A 0. No, 3A O. It's an O, not a 0. 3A O. Please fill in your feedback forms. One of the questions is about the length of the session. 9 means it was way too long. Please be careful with that question. The marking scheme is slightly different to all the other questions. And then to show your appreciation, do please give generously to the charities, and to also to thank the presenter for his time and effort in both putting together the presentation and delivering it. Okay, so I'm about to allow you to unmute. Okay, so you can now unmute yourselves if you have any questions that you would like to ask Tim.
And just to come back to the raffle, I've seen the prizes. I quite fancy those myself. So quite a nice set this year.
If nobody has any questions, I would like to lead the round of applause. One day I will work out how to use the button that puts it on the screen, but for now you just have to have real stuff. So if there are no questions, you're free to leave, and I will end the session in a couple of minutes if nobody wants to talk to each other.
Well, thanks very much, Anna.
You're welcome. If you do want to unmute yourself and you can't find the button, it's in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Okay, then I'm going to end the session now. Thank you all very much for your attendance.